Good afternoon, all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show. And I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been pretty somber mood, I'd say, or for some wackadoos, it's really been their time to shine with some of the things they've been saying. We'll get to that, but thank you all for tuning in. If you can, please, if you're watching on YouTube right now, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Hit the notification button as well. If you're watching on Rumble, please hit that Rumble button, hit that like button. And if you're watching us right now on X, streaming live all over the platform, please hit that like button and share this out to all your friends. And please make sure you send this to some of the low information group of your friends so that they could get up to speed with things, because there's a lot of things that I'm going to say. Shout out to Tom Joyce in the chat. Good afternoon to you too, Tom. So first I want to say this, okay? So last week there was a lot going on. Obviously, I didn't do a show on September 11th because it's September 11th, and it's a day that I don't think anyone should be working on that day, and it's just a time to reflect back on a day that life changed after September 11th. I know that, like I stated before when I ended the show last week on Tuesday, September 11th, the day after September 11th, life would never be the same again. There's people that'll say that things happened after September 11th are the greatest things of all time. People that just didn't know what life was about before this date. This really ripped the soul, almost the soul, out of the country, and it ripped the soul out of New York City, at least for a brief moment. And then everyone came together, and there was so many heroes that day, so many people. It was so brave to go into this building. Some that today, luckily, are still with us. They suffer from, cancer and other ailments that occurred from running into those buildings and being around, after they, came down. It was all kinds of toxins in the air, and they just went in there and they were looking to rescue and save people. So I think that's always a day to reflect on that. So always, that's a day that I don't think anyone should be working. I'm sorry. September 11th should be observed like, a Memorial Day, a Labor Day, something like that. Memorial Day is the same thing. We observe all our veterans, and we think back about everything that happened. As Veterans Day does the same thing. September 11th should be the same, and maybe President Trump could do something about that. So there's that. But of course, the day prior, there was an assassination of someone, and that assassination is of Charlie Kirk. So like I said on the Finest and Filter on Friday, I was in and around Charlie a few times. And listen, this guy did a lot behind the scenes, and he's not a bad person by any stretch of imagination. Charlie was as a man of God. He was really believed in his principles and his faith, and all he really did was try to debate people and try to bring people across the aisle to where they agree upon things and try to move forward. Kind of like a throwback to how I was when I grew up in the 80s, where people may not have agreed with things, but we, hash it out afterwards. And I think that's lost in this temperature, right now in 2025. And it was great to see all these vigils and, and everything that, preceded the reaction from many of Charlie's friends, from Turning Point, and my heart goes out to the family. And nobody deserves this, okay? But the aftermath of this is quite disturbing, because now you're hearing the government wants to go after people for hate speech. The government wants to chase people around if you say something bad about Charlie Kirk. Now, listen, unfortunately, people have a right to say what they want, unfortunately, whichever way you want. For the government, it's unfortunate for you to, there is a First Amendment. And it's fortunate for others as well. People may not like what you say. It might be distasteful, but that's what, one of the bedrocks of how this country was built, right? You're allowed to speak, because before this was America, you weren't allowed to speak. They would literally hang you for things and come after you. So with that as the background, what I've seen on the internet is disgusting. Some of the people, look, that goes down to value judgments and how you live your life. Okay. So if you have a problem in here and you say that what you saw, you love it. And this, in the end, we all end up in the same place. We all die and go to the same place. Even for those, and these people that are doing this have a void in their life because they don't have God. They don't believe in God. That's great because you're gonna see God when it's all said and done. And that's when you get judged for everything and whatever happens in your life. I actually believe you judge yourself before you even get there as a soul. And you'll need to judge yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and say, is me cheering on someone else's death, was that a good thing in my life? Right now, it might seem great and you're in the moment. But in the years that pass by, all these purple-haired people with their, the nose rings and 1,000 tattoos all over their face, and they're screaming death to America. As the years go on, they won't be your friend. I don't know what's going to happen to some of these people. They personally make a lot of bad life choices, and you'll be left to wonder, damn, did I really do that? And you're going to need to repent. Sunday, I always go to church. I was there on Sunday. It was a moving thing over at Coral Ridge Presbyterian. Pastor Rob Pacienza, he's the lead pastor there. Great organization he runs there with the church. It was very moving. I went there with Roger Stone, and we were, Roger actually knew Charlie, very well, and he's even taken back by a lot of this stuff. So I don't think you should be chased around by the government for what you say. Of course, if your rhetoric is leading to some kind of violence or this is what happens. What you say will probably land you on a watch list. So if you're mentioning things and you're with your little group or you're on these video game things or whatever, if you guys are talking in there and it's things are sounding very weird or, borderline criminal, you're going to end up on a watch list. That's just the name of the game. Now, should they be picked up because they said something crazy? If they're just saying things and there's nothing proof, I'm sure people have said things for years. Someone might have said something 20 years ago, never acted out on it. But should they be arrested for that? Because that's the route the government looks like they want to take. And I don't think that's correct. But on the flip side, when you work for a government agency or you work for an administration, right? A mayoral administration, let's say, like Tony Herbert, and you decide to go on your Facebook, wherever it is, Instagram, and write something like this. This is Tony Herbert. It says, thanks, Juan Loaded Conception, whoever the hell that is. You hit the nail right on the head, or should I say racist? And this is a meme. It says, Charlie Kirk spent his entire life disparaging immigrants, disrespecting women, and blaming black folks, only to get shot in one of the whitest places on earth. Then we're going to show you this because he had more to say because then he made a video. This guy, Tony Herbert. Okay, so let's play this video.
Good morning. I just want to address a post that I put up with regards to the unfortunate shooting of a human being in the likes of the conservative individual, Mr. Kirk. But I also want to be very clear about something. It also helped me to identify the racists that are on my page. So I'm happy and I do not regret posting what I posted because it helped me to identify the racists that were sitting on my page who I thought were about, equality and all that other good stuff. So I'm not going to make any excuses with regards to the fact of my comment. I shared a clip from somebody else with regards to an individual who, for the most part, created to helped his own demise. When you go out there and you talk about people and you talk about, and you become a racist and you try to disguise that like you're doing something for humanity, that's a problem. And unfortunately, karma has come to collect. With that being said, thank you very much. I've been able to delete at least 2 people thus far and whatnot who I find to be extreme racists that live here in our city and supports racism, but just undercover with it. So, yeah. I don't regret that at all. And this message is to you. Thank you for allowing me to identify your stupidity.
Now, here's the catch with that.
Okay.
Tony Herbert works for the Eric Adams administration. He's some kind of liaison. I don't know, because he works as a liaison to NYCHA, which is housing, but he's out at corrections and doing all kind of protests in front of Rikers. I don't know what that is. But here's your karma, Mr. Herbert. Herbert was hired by the Eric Adams administration in February 2022 as a community coordinator with a salary of just $84,000, public records show. More recently, he was serving as citywide liaison to the public housing community, according to an interview posted online this week, with a salary of nearly $105,000 per year. In that interview, Herbert advocated for Adams' reelection while referring to himself as a fraternal brother to the mayor and a big supporter. Yeah, he's some kind of Freemason thing or something. He was there when this guy got initiated Eric Adams allegedly. So that's his rhetoric, which he's entitled to. But the problem is he works for Eric Adams' administration. So then why don't we show his karma and how that all came about for Tony Herbert? Because it looks like Mr. Tony doesn't have a job anymore. And he's going to probably scream racism and all that. By the way, Tony Herbert literally has his heart is very dark. Everything this guy says, I mean, he called John McCarthy a racist, I don't know, for a couple of years straight. I didn't even know this guy. Here's the headline: Eric Adams advocate fired from city job after post critical of Charlie Kirk. And this is when your free speech gets thrown out the window. When you work for an organization and or a city agency, a law enforcement agency, because what you say reflects back on that agency. So when he's talking, it looks like that's what Eric Adams and the entire administration, how they really think about Charlie Kirk. Okay? So that's why you don't have free speech when you get to this level with these organizations or agencies, because that's how you get terminated, because you're representing the agency. It definitely looks like it. He's a public liaison, some no-show job. The bottom line is this with Tony Herbert. I didn't really know who the hell the guy is. I only recently, in the last 6, 8 months, 10 months, started to find out who this guy is and look into him, because he said some things about me too, and I don't really care. What matters is Tony Herbert is so irrelevant that he doesn't have a seat at Eric Adams' fabled table of success. He's a lackey who's never been anywhere near anything important. He's a failed political candidate, and anything he says should be taken as, here's a guy with a dark heart. He screams racism. He's racist himself. For this guy, ask this guy if he likes anyone who's Caucasian. I mean, this is the kind of guy you need to avoid. He's so dark, he needs to find God himself, okay? But then again, I don't know, he's some kind of Freemason, whatever they're doing, Freemasonry. I don't really care what they get into, but he talked about karma, and it spun around on him, because you can say what you want. You just can't say it when you represent a city agency, a federal agency, a law enforcement agency, because that's when they come after you. Too bad they don't say this when it comes to the executives in New York City Police Department, because that's the same exact route that they should have ended up in. When John Schell and Kaz Daughtry and Tariq Shepard and all these other clowns that Eric Adams hired, they say the same things online, they should be held accountable the same way, because how is it that they get to keep their jobs and they're basically representing the agency? Because it looks like then the New York City Police Department is backing up anything John Schell or Kaz Daughtry or Tariq Shepard or any of these clowns ever said. So to Tony, I don't know. Maybe you should just learn how to keep your mouth shut on certain things. And if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything nice. Don't say anything, period. And that's pretty much it with all that for now. And again, my condolences to Charlie Kirk. And I think anytime you try to shoot down some kind of movement, it only grows tenfold. So you're going to start to probably see a lot of college campuses with this. And it was a good idea, because I think we should have debate and discussion, kind of like when I had Patrick Gordon on this show and Michael Dowd. Many people didn't like that. But you know what? You learn something by hearing people on that other side. We don't just shun these people and shut their voices up, because you can learn something. You can learn something from someone who's been to jail because he did corrupt things. And then he's trying to tell you, well, the guys that are there right now, kind of similar, and what happened in his day versus what's going on in this today, so you can learn from that. You can learn from Patrick Gordon, who's on the inside. He runs his organization, the Guardians. You can learn from hearing what it's like to run that organization, what really goes on behind the scenes. It's not just what everyone thinks. So that's the importance of debate and discussion and reaching out to the other side sometimes. So I believe in that. Some people don't, but it's almost like the Charlie Kirk method, and that's what Christ preached in in Christianity. So you're supposed to try to bridge the gap and try to help others. But I guess some people rather live in hate. So if you live in with that dark heart, I don't know what to say. Eventually you'll be judged, and you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror and judge your soul, your own soul, before you get judged by God himself. So now I want to move on to something else. And here we go. See, this is why, I'm more in the middle here. Okay. I always call out things and look at things. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, but this guy, Brian Kilmeade. Okay. Brian Kilmeade to me is like a jester. He comes out, Fox News. I don't know why anyone gives this guy any relevance. There's a lot. This guy is, he once said, Brian Kilmeade, that Roger Stone only knew President Donald Trump from the year 2010 or 2012 on. He actually posted it somewhere. Roger Stone has known the Trump family since the late 70s. And the rise of Donald Trump is very much hip to hip with Roger Stone. But Brian Kilmeade was writing books and making all kinds of money on that nonsense, spewing nonsense like that. But let's hear what he had to say about the mentally ill, the people that need help, the homeless people that need help. Let's hear what Brian Kilmeade had to say on Fox.
We feel so compassionate because you see the mental health crisis happening.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not our job. We shouldn't have to live in fear while they figure out what's going on right there.
Right.
Put them in a mental institution, put them in a jail, and you guys figure it out. But people having to duck and dive on the trains and the buses, walking through the street, this is one case, but this is happening all across the country, and it's not a money issue. They have given billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say that.
You heard that? Okay. Now he had to issue an apology. Let's post his apology.
In the morning, we were discussing the murder of Irina Zaruska in Charlotte, North Carolina, and how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people.
Listen, if anybody, see what he just said there? Now that to me is another, I don't know, you want to suspend this guy or whatever on Fox. You can't say something reckless like that with millions of people watching. We need to euthanize homeless people. This guy is not that bright. I don't know why people give this guy the time of day. It's very unfortunate that people even listen to this guy. You want to euthanize mentally disturbed people? There's a lot of people that aren't as mentally disturbed as you think. They just fallen on hard times. But let's euthanize them, Brian Kilmeade, since that's a great idea. And you say this on air on top of it. I mean, if anybody, if you should be terminated or suspended, is Brian Kilmeade. Why this guy has a show on WABC radio? Why Sid Rosenberg continues to give this guy relevance? This guy is a clown. He has no idea what he's talking about, and he says ridiculous things like that. People that are mentally, disturbed or need help is separate than people like what happened there with Irina, with that incident that happened in North Carolina. You know why? That gentleman's not crazy. He's been in and out of jail. He's a career criminal. Okay. And they let him loose. The judge, a magistrate judge over there, that's not even a real, she's not even a law license, nothing. They just made her a magistrate judge. She let him out. And now apparently took him from county where he was held to now he's in a hospital. So you're already getting ready for him to get back to society already. Okay. And for the people like Juju who belong with Tony Herbert, I believe that was a male black stabbing a refugee, right, from Ukraine. So that would blow up the entire liberal narrative of we love refugees, but you go ahead and, you sick predators on people. And then we're supposed to sit here and say, everyone's a racist, like Tony Herbert said. So that's the mentality of these court jesters. So I think Brian Kilmeade, maybe a suspension should be on your way, a little timeout, because you need to learn a lot real quick. Then there's final news here on the administration and Eric Adams, and it has to do with federal stuff. And this was in the Daily News yesterday, written by Graham Raymond. Boyfriend of Adams administration official detained by ICE amid Trump crackdown. The romantic partner of a senior city corrections official was detained by immigration agents last month in the Bronx in what is perhaps a watershed moment in the Big Apple's conflict over President Trump's immigration crackdown, the Daily News has learned. Nathaniel Rojas, a native of the Dominican Republic, who federal officials say holds a green card, was hauled away by ICE agents August 28th in Riverdale from the apartment he shares with Wendy Garcia, who has been the city Department of Corrections Deputy Commissioner for Development and Advancement since February, according to records and law enforcement sources. Rojas was taken to 26 Federal Plaza and whisked up to an Orange County jail where he has remained over the past 2 weeks. Records show Garcia was present during Rojas' arrest, the sources said. In a statement late Monday, Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin called Rojas a criminal alien from the Dominican Republic and alleged he has a green card the feds are trying to revoke on the basis he has multiple felony convictions, including for grand larceny. A green card is a privilege, not a right, and under our nation's laws, our government has the authority to revoke a green card if our laws are broken and abused. Of course, his lawyers go on and say this is nonsense. It's all kind of stuff. There's pictures of I guess Wendy Garcia when before she was partying at a con sofrito and whatever's going on there, but with her husband. But here's the problem with this: he has felony convictions, DUI, all kinds of stuff. By the letter of the law, you are supposed to get deported when you're convicted of those crimes. That is actually the procedure. That's how it works. What's more, this again, now this is something that was brought on by who? Eric Adams. Why? Eric Adams should have terminated Wendy Garcia way back when we found out that she was involved in covering up all kinds of scandals in New York City Police Department when she was a deputy commissioner of equal opportunity employment. Okay? That's where the misstep was. But instead of doing that, they reward her by trying to sneak her into the Department of Corrections. And now you have this scandal. And I'm sure they already knew about all of this stuff because Wendy, she was out partying, man. I don't know. She has a husband, but she was partying to the break of dawn with the crew at Con Sofrito. So I don't know what the exact what the exact lineage is of everything here, like the line, how the timeline, but another scandal on Eric Adams could have been avoided, should have terminated Wendy Garcia, and now you got a mess. And no, he by the letter of the law should be deported because there's also a domestic case, I believe, on him that was mentioned in the article, the brother. It just goes on and on with this. And she shouldn't be putting the Eric Adams administration in this position. She already did that by what she did in the New York State Police Department. But, you know, party all the time, I say, right? We're going to now move into NYPD news. So this one was in AMNY, okay, and it's by Barbara Russo Lennon and Lloyd Mitchell. Brooklyn police pursuit ends with pedestrian struck, alleged teenage car thief caught. It's a brutal picture of this, all right? So I'll just read this briefly. And here's the video, and a pedestrian was struck during a Brooklyn police pursuit on Sunday morning in which officers were attempting to stop an alleged teenage car thief. According to law enforcement sources, officers in the 75th Precinct respond to a call about a stolen vehicle at Pennsylvania and Hegeman Avenues in East New York at around 9:30 a.m. on September 14th. Police said the alleged perp, a 15-year-old boy, was identified by the victim at the scene. Officers then sprang into action when the young suspect immediately fled in the vehicle, going only a short distance around a corner, authorities said. With cops tailing him, the perp had to aggressively navigate traffic. A 71-year-old man standing at the southwest corner of the intersection was struck in the process. The suspect then fled the vehicle, instigating a foot chase, and was apprehended just moments later. Meanwhile, the condition of the pedestrian is not yet known, according to sources. Eyewitness described a harrowing scene as a street pole came crashing down in the busy intersection following the chase. At one point, the victim was seen trapped underneath the stolen vehicle. Just another average wild morning in East New York, Philip Rogers said. I heard a cracking noise and saw the police pole come down. Catherine Garcia was praying for the victim. The police could not yet confirm what kind of vehicle was stolen or whether the pedestrian was hit by the stolen vehicle or the collapsed street pole. The investigation remains ongoing. Now, the video actually shows you, this is so disgusting. The video actually shows you what happened here. This is a car pursuit gone wrong. I don't know how many more times I've said on this show, stop pursuing cars. If you're in the New York City Police Department, hear this loud and clear. Stop pursuing vehicles, okay? That's why there's cameras, all this technology. Do not chase vehicles. I don't care what John Schell tells you. John Schell's out the door. Nothing's going to happen to him. It's CCRB, civil litigation, criminal litigation that could come after you. Police Officer Harry, Police Officer Joe, Police Officer Jane, because you're going to have to explain yourself, okay? Now this led to this whole incident. See that poor person that we don't know what happened to him, the conditions unknown? That's going to fall on you. Why were you chasing this vehicle? I don't get it. In this day and age, you should know that they are not going to have your back with that. The police pursuits has been something. These car pursuits have been something. Under this administration, they gaslit. And then, but like I've always told you about these guys, they'll tell you at these roll calls, yeah, rah, rah, go do that. And the minute something goes wrong, they're going to fall back and say, what did the patrol guy say? Patrol guide in the NYPD does not tell you to do that. Just so you know. So that is, you know, I don't know what to say. You should know better. And this has to stop. You know, all these drones, you know, Kaz Dodger, the drone business, you can use those. You catch the guy later on. There's license plates, they have facial recognition. Why are you chasing people around New York City? Millions of people walking around. That's a court case that's unnecessary. You need as a police officer. Very frustrating, you know. And we've said this over and over again. Eric Dim has said this on Fires Unfiltered. I would hope that please put an end to the police pursuits. Use your head. Is it worth it? Because that surely wasn't. Now there's fresh off the presses here in Daily News again. NYPD cop arrested at his Brooklyn station house for stolen license plate. It's by Thomas Tracy. An NYPD cop was arrested on the job at his Brooklyn station house Tuesday after he was found in possession of a stolen license plate. Officer David Carrasco, 26, was busted for petty larceny and possession of stolen property inside the 67th precinct on Steiner Avenue, East Flatbush, around 3:25 a.m. Carrasco had just been transferred to that precinct from the 60th precinct in Coney Island, cops said. The 3-year NYPD veteran was arrested after he was found in possession of a license plate that had been reported missing, a police source said. Cops released Carrasco with a desk appearance ticket to appear in court at a later date. I don't know. I don't know what to say with that. I don't know why anyone would push their luck. He came out of 60th precinct. That's my alma mater. What were you thinking? And if you know these things, you got to go to the integrity control office and tell them, hey, this license plate, blah, blah, blah. Because when there's a report on things, they're going to nail you. And just like that, this officer is being destroyed because either he did something he forgot about, or he's just a straight up perp, one or the other. I would give the benefit of doubt and say maybe he made a mistake. But if not, it's your career, buddy. I mean, you got to be smart on this. Don't give these people an easy one. Don't. And now we're going to show you what Eric Sanders had to say. It was very interesting on his post here. A little cryptic, but I think I understand what's going on here. So he says, well, what do we have here? The infamous PC rubber stamp itself. Remember when some folks laughed off retired Lieutenant Quatisha Epps' claims as exaggeration? Oh, no, the NYPD would never cut corners like that? Right. Turns out the only thing getting exercised at one police plaza is the wrist that slams the stamp down, while real oversight gets tossed in the shredder. This isn't professionalism. It's performance art, a parody of accountability where signatures are replaced by rubber and the law is treated like a suggestion. And soon, the little toy of convenience will be Exhibit A in court. The department and its minions won't be able to laugh it off this time. Rubber stamped injustice. Now, you got to show the rubber stamp because the rubber stamp is, you'll see it on that post. The rubber stamp is Tom Donlin's signature. That's it. See that? Remember Tom Donlin's lawsuit? He wasn't signing off on things. Who was using that rubber stamp? Oh, there's evidence of this, right? So now they're going to have to answer for this in court. And it's all fun and games. They could all sit there, the soccer mom, all talk about that stuff. But behind closed doors, they're very nervous because Epps has a whole laundry list of stuff. We'll see when that all comes out. Found that very interesting, the rubber stamp, since Tom Donlin's lawsuit mentions how he didn't sign off anything and they were using his signature and rubber stamping it. Might have been Tariq Shepard doing that. Who knows? We'll see. Finally, we'll get to the deputy mayor of Cloud Chaser, Kaz Daughtry. He put up this video. Let's just play this video because this is just amazing that this continues.
Kaz Daughtry, Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, just arrived at the fashion show, about to get ready to walk. Let's go inside and meet my designer. Here. Here's my stuff right here. More $1,000 doing that Muggsy McFly. So Muggs, what we got for me today? What we gonna wear?
Don't start sneaking toothpicks. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody. We're gonna start off with the denim, the fur jacket.
Okay.
Sauce, man.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, the feet right.
Okay.
No, so fly it ever.
I'm gonna go change right now. Be right back. You're definitely shooting for two.
Now, look, if you want to do that on your own time, that's fine and dandy. You want to make a jackass out of yourself on your own time, that's fine. But this video was produced by New York City. That means you, New York City residents, paid for that catastrophe that you just saw. And just to think, was that on job time or not? I don't know what else to say. I don't know what I just saw. Now he has a new nickname, Kaz Dollars. There's Kaz the Builder. There's Kaz the Drone Guy. Now there's Kaz Dollars. I don't know what else to say about that. This guy, December 31st, cannot come soon enough. And that when they should do is audits and find out what all this money was deprived from to pay for all this social media nonsense. And if there's a way to charge him with a crime, so be it, because this guy should go away for wasting taxpayer dollars on nonsense, building up his own social media. And I don't know where he thinks he's going. He's a clown, and he'll be remembered as a clown. That's what you're paying for in New York City, just so you understand. If he wants to do that on his own time, so be it. But don't be wasting New York City taxpayer money to put this up on taxpayer-funded social media accounts and act like everything's fine and dandy. What can I say? So with that being said, now let's get to our guest who has a lot to say about corruption, because he used to be in law enforcement in New Jersey, and he has his own story, because it appears that corruption just goes from one state to the other, just over the river, from New York to New Jersey. So without any further ado, let's have our guest on. Let's have Shawn Kelly on.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Shawn, it's great to have you. I did catch your story for a little bit. I know a little bit about it. So just for the audience, give a little bit of a Reader's Digest version of who you are, where you came from, where you used to work, and what kind of transpired.
So yeah, for sure. My name is Shawn Kelly. I'm a product of Hudson County, New Jersey. I'm a former correctional officer, I like to say, because I don't see myself going back there regardless of what happens. Through that process, I founded a nonprofit called Project 201. So I'm a nonprofit organization owner and runner. And, we mentor kids through life skills and sports and build that family relationship and give these kids what they might be lacking or missing, whether it's at home, in the school, or whatever. And that was built through my trials and tribulations of not only being an officer in the jail, but growing up in the community that I grew up in. I'm born and raised in Jersey City. I grew up in Bayonne, New Jersey. I went to high school in Bayonne. I went to high school in Union City. So I consider myself a Hudson County boy. And I got to experience not only the school system, but then after years and years of taking police tests, at 35, I got on and I got into the correctional facility as what I would like to think would be a grown man, an adult, right? I wasn't 20, 21, looking at things a little differently. And then one day I got hurt on the job during the pandemic, and all of this came to me. It was like God, like you talked a lot about God and faith and all that stuff. And I didn't just develop a nonprofit because I wanted to. It was like one day I met a bunch of kids, and it was like, at the time I said the universe gave it to me, but now I understand God gave me this vision for a reason. And when I got back to work is when I saw things differently. And I'm like, you know what? If I'm doing this on the outside with my organization, I got to be the same person inside this jail. So I got to speak up for things that I don't feel is right, and definitely things that we're not supposed to be doing, right? We're not there to treat inmates any type of way. We're there for safety and security of not just the inmates, but the officers and staff and everybody in that building. When I came back, I just have a gift where people talk to me, people tell me things, and you could tell if an inmate hasn't showered in a week by just walking past the cell. So I started to look into the officers I was working with and say, hey, listen, this is how we have to do it. It says right here, we got cameras watching us. I don't want to have no issues here. Let's make sure the inmates get this amount of time out. And I just decided, instead of having issues with officers, because you can't talk to a lot of people. They want to justify why they do what they do. And let me get this straight, there are a lot of great officers out there. I worked with a lot of great officers, but somebody has to speak up for the stuff that's being done and hurting families and taking lives because of mental, illness and stuff like that. So I wrote an email to administration about inmates not having mats and, a bunch of other things that I saw that was going on between officers and inmates and officers and officers. There was a lot of harassing and bullying if you weren't in certain cliques. So I'm grown for that. You know, I'm too grown for that. I go there to work, do my job. It's a stressful enough job as it is. We don't have enough officers in the building at times. So it is really stressful for officers when you aren't clicked up or connected in any type of way. So once I had this conversation with administration, I started to experience a lot of harassment in the jail, right? So we got shift bids now, gives you a little bit of seniority. And throughout that time, you know, I was questioning, why do I keep being moved around off of my shift bid when I'm here with the most seniority between the people that are being moved? And the only reason I started to bring this stuff up is because I used to sit in these rooms when officers would come in upset about something and they would end up going home sick because they got moved off a sweet post, right? And it was like, come on, we all, you know, it is what it is. So as I started to get harassed online and in the jail, I wrote emails to everybody. Because I said, you know, I'm gonna send IA, I'm gonna send county personnel, I'm gonna send administration emails, letting them know what I'm dealing with here, right? To the point where you're putting up a note that I wrote because they told me I couldn't write any incident reports. So I started to keep track of stuff that was going on. So finally, after an incident that I had, right, I wasn't going to have an argument with an officer at work. So we let the supervisor, sergeant, lieutenant deal with that kind of stuff. So that officer disrespected me in front of our PBA president, in front of 2 sergeants, and he was taken out. And I was asked, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm a grown man. Went back to work. Nothing was done about it. So what I decided to do one day at work was shake this officer's hand on camera and say, listen, we don't have to like each other. We have to work with each other. And it is what it is. And things continue to escalate, right? You could see attitudes and things like that and different type of harassment inside the jail. To the point where you keep calling people out their name, right? So one day I made a officer decision because we have to let inmates out for their recreation time. And the final report I wrote was the guy threatened me to a fight, gave me his address as we're working. And I'm thinking, this is inmate-like behavior. Like, this is multiple times this is happening. Are they really trying to irk me to make me do something out of character so they can say, look, we told you this officer was like that, but I'm making numerous claims like, hey, listen, trying to file the right grievance, not grievances, but reports, and telling my supervisors, like, what's going on here? This can't happen. So they keep us working together. I went to a lieutenant and I said, yo, what's this going on? They moved me to another situation, and I just was like, God gotta be putting me in these scenarios as case study for what's going on. So the shift post that I worked that day, there happened to be a rape incident at the jail, right? And in the jail, there's no consensual sex, right? So whether they were wet in the bathroom, you know, but it was a female and 2 males. And the only reason I know this is because we're all joking about it. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, are they really joking about this incident? So again, nobody said anything about my harassment, everything that I'm dealing with in the jail. So I said on the PBA page, hey, is anybody going to do anything? Like, what's going on about this rape case? Or is that going to get swept under the rug like everything else, right? I got kicked off the page. The next day I was suspended / terminated for my days out, taking too many days off. Now, I have taken a lot of days off, I'm not going to lie, but I was out for almost 3 years with multiple surgeries on my arm because the first surgery went bad, right? So now I'm back and I can't get disability because the county is still taking their time on my case to send me to doctors. And they do this because this is how they cripple an officer with his pay, his family, mental health. And a lot of officers have went through what I went through at my jail. They just couldn't stand up for any reason besides the money, the family, the kids, right? And I'm fortunate to be blessed with a situation that I could stand up and just say something because, you know what, I'm not gonna go to this job anymore and deal with the stress from administration and other officers when it's stressful enough walking in there on a daily basis to deal with inmates. So now I want to focus all my time and energy on saving our youth and preventing as many kids from ever seeing the inside of a jail cell, because you're gonna get screwed over. You know,
Yeah.
the system is no good, and I'm not here to fight the system. I'm just here to tell my story for all those officers that might not be with us no more due to situations and bullying and harassing. Because at one point I felt like I realized what the inmate feels like when they're talking about some harassment they may be facing or things they may be going through in the jail. Because now I'm going through stuff and I'm going through the proper channels, and it's just happening more. And it's like, what are you supposed to do? So you call out of work, and now I'm being fired for that. So, and November 17th will make a year, you know, and I want to give a big shout out to my family, to my fiance, to the New Solutions Network, to the Blue Magazine, to everybody that has supported me throughout this journey and I met along the way, to all the officers that we spoke. And I want to let you know that I'm here speaking for us, right? I know everybody would say, don't talk, because when the time comes, nobody else is going to speak up, but that's okay. That's why I'm here, right? That's why I speak up. Shout out to Nick G. I saw your video just, you know, popped up on my page, and I saw Nick G talking about corrections in Rikers.
Yep.
Like, yo, this is crazy. We should not have to deal with that, especially in this profession. It's enough stress that we go through. And I can tell you, it's almost been a year, and I don't care if anybody reaches out, but where's the PBA? Where's my PBA that I pay dues for? Where's any of those guys? Where's any of those officers that talk all this brotherhood and all this family? You know, it's not like that if you're not going to this all-white party and you're not in the clique with the sergeants and this one and that. It's just, you know, we need to do better. We need to have better leadership. We need to have better leadership in our school systems. We need to have better leadership in our police. And it just starts with us. I know you've been letting me talk, so I appreciate that. You're giving me a voice right now.
Hey, you know, the floor is yours. So I definitely have a few questions. So the first one would be, while you posted this on the PBA website, right? They essentially investigated you for what you posted. But when these people were posting things against you and come after you because, you know, you made your complaints or you just made it known you didn't like what you were seeing or you thought things were, you know, not going the way they should, was anyone ever investigated for anything that they said to you, or that it's clearly online? We know who these people are. Was anyone investigated other than you for this?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, the jail, like I said, I've been there a few years. I was out for a few years, but when I was working there, I've always had that personality or thing where people come and tell me things. And the stories I would hear in the beginning, I'm like, yeah, right, no way. And then I started to experience them, right? Like a funny story, because you're not in the clique, I used to work overnight. And you got to get let in through Central. And I got stuck there for like 2 minutes, like no lie, 2-3 minutes. So eventually some other officer, I get let in, I get to my tier. I'm savvy enough to call operations. I say, yo, who's working in Central right now? Okay. I call Central. I'm like, yo, why you lock me in the doors for all that time? And she goes, how'd it feel being locked behind those doors? You did that shit to me. Click. I called her back. I said, yo, listen, I just started. I never even worked the main. I'm in the tier all the time. So this is crazy. I told my sergeant, nothing happened. Got harassed online, got harassed via whatever. I always stayed professional and respectful. One of my reps, he's now a sergeant, called me on the phone and was like, Kelly, I'm trying to get you back on this. I'm trying them not to kick you off. Soon as he became sergeant, that's when they kicked me off, which I don't care about none of that stuff. But like when you start to speak up and respectfully about things that are going on, it seems that there's a lot of corruption, and I don't think we're ever going to fix that. But us as officers who take that oath and walking those doors, and I can't speak about police that walk the streets. I can only talk about corrections when we walk in that building. When you walk in that building, it's dangerous enough if you never lived in any type of environment in the hood or the ghetto or been around that type of environment. To have to go to work and face all type of bullying because you don't want to be down with certain cliques and you don't let the officers or sergeants talk to you like you're an inmate when we're all officers, is mind-blowing. And what really, I want to say, broke my heart one day, I was walking upstairs, because remember, a lot of these young officers, they're 20, 21, 22, they're kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what's good, man? How you doing? And just to hear the pain in this officer's voice, like, man, Kelly, his mom died. He had this back surgery. They forced him this, that. They got him working these tiers and closing his tier down, and inmates are treating him like shit. So they bully you in a way where they use the inmates against you when you're at work by not letting certain things happen because, it falls on you. There's so many things that go on in there. It's really a bad place for everybody, so I advise any child, any kid, any adult, anybody watching this video, this podcast, this episode, you do not want to go to jail. You do not want to get in trouble. I promise you.
I could say a lot. I think a lot of people would say that. So are you in any litigation right now with them or no?
So I had a 30-day suspension for something prior where our IA captain was caught lying in the investigation. So they just gave me back 10 days. I went to court for this termination that I'm going through now, and I had all of this paperwork in that suit, in that case. And I don't know what's going on because I firmly believe I should have been terminated already. So I believe the judge, after looking at that, because they didn't talk too much about it, they brought it up a little bit. I'm believing the judge is looking at that like, yo, what's going on with this? Because I don't see how they can fire me for this. They didn't investigate. That's why I took off. I went to work on purpose for a whole month in August, right? The whole month I went to work during this time, just so they couldn't say, look, this guy likes to not go to work. But there's some days when I experience some issues with my arm, right? That if I don't feel strong enough, I'm not going to go to work because they're not going to go, okay, we'll put you in the lobby like they do to their friends, right? They only take care of who they want. So I got to protect myself working in a jail. So this is still up in the air. So I'm waiting to see what happens. But I got tired of being quiet and feeling like this goes on way too much. And I know there's officers that are no longer with us due to mental health issues, to stuff like this. Because when you work with people with weapons, you never know, especially when the officer's threatening you, saying, giving you his address. This happens multiple times. Other officers, it's like, when does it stop? So it might not stop today, but I hope more officers speak up about what goes on so we can make it a better work environment and everything will be better.
Were you allowed to put in for any like transfers if you want to get out of the section you were in to go to another section so you would avoid these haters of yours?
I asked to be moved, right? But I didn't see why I had to be moved from my post because we're still going to be around the same officers. There's really nothing, nowhere you could hide in a jail. You're going to be working, right? But I did ask to see how we could solve this situation, and they just wanted us to meet together. So I said, after multiple times we've been disrespected in front of you guys, like, how do we resolve this? By him getting upset and disrespecting me again in a group setting? I don't even want to be around that. I don't want to talk to this officer. And anyway, that's inmate-like behavior. It needs to be dealt with.
I know. So what are you doing now? But you have the nonprofit, right? So you've been doing that. Because I guess now you got to be doing something else. Because this clearly, now you got to wait this out because you have basically have a disability case that is dragging on.
Right, pending. So right now I do a little personal training, right? I work with the youth with behavioral assistance, right? And kids experience any type of behavioral issues. And we're contracted at the Great Falls Youth Center in Patterson to run some boxing clinics, and also we're going to be running a sports camp there for them. So they're building a rec center. They don't have sports right now, so we're going to be building their sports camp. So we're looking forward to that. We're out in Patterson, Great Falls Youth Center, all the activities there, whether it's sports. I know they have sewing, they have music, they have a whole bunch of activities there. They're all free for the kids that sign up. So shout out to the Great Falls Youth Center and everybody over there.
Yeah, I think this is a good thing. You're doing great for the community. I don't know why. I don't know why these guys did what they did. But this seems to be a pattern. Whether it's New York City, New York, California, New Jersey, it's just they love. Your story is like a story I hear over and over and over and over again with people. How they went about, how they try to, not only how they terminated you, but how they treated you because you got hurt. You got hurt, and that started your downfall. And then people got in your face and all this other nonsense because it's like high school, you know. You see what the kids you train today, they're gonna get a little beef between each other, and you're like, "Hey, calm down. It's not that serious." But in that environment, it's kind of like dog meets dog. You know, oh my god, you know, they just wanna go at it. You know, it's real stupid.
It's an evil place, you know. It's a bad place. So the energy, I understand. It's the energy. So now doing what I'm doing, I understand. I can't be there. So that was just, everything happens for a reason. And I'm just a messenger.
Basically, yeah. So where can people reach out to you if they want to, you know, they want to talk to you about anything or get involved in your organization?
Right. So you can find me on Instagram at Coach Kells with a Z 201. You can follow our organization at Project 201 INC. Check out what we're doing. Anybody that needs mentorship, if you have kids that are experiencing behavioral issues, you don't want them on drugs, you don't want them going to the doctor and getting prescription drugs, reach out to Coach Kells. This is one of the reasons I started doing this. I took a few classes, case studies. A lot of kids are being put on drugs. They don't need that. All they need is some time with a real coach, a real mentor, a real father figure in the community, and we'll save our youth one at a time.
There you go. You know, it's funny you mentioned Bayonne. There was a pizzeria I knew there years ago, Joe's Pizza. It's on Broadway, 56th Street, and I knew Paul was the owner. I don't know if Paul's still there, but that's that place. I remember going to Bayonne specifically for that. So
shout out to Paulie Pizza. They're now back in Bayonne, Corner Square.
Ah, yeah, that's it. That was it. He owned this place. I remember when he first bought it. I was there. I knew the family. So Paul, shout out to Paul Artizone. He owned the Joe's Pizza. Great guy.
That's the new owners. That's a new owner and everybody right there. I believe those are new owners. He's got a new spot at the old spot that used to be Joe's on 46th and Broadway called Corner Square.
Okay, so Corner Square. Well, speaking of Square, Paul made probably the best Sicilian pizza I've ever had, period. He's a genius when it comes to he makes any, and he also make you cook up anything like when you talk, there it is. Those are the squares. He makes also plates, like Sicilian plates. That's a great place to go. So you open up Corner Square. That's nice. He was friends with my father for many years, me too. And then, you know, everything happened with me. Everybody lost track of each other, and I haven't been in Bayonne in quite a while. But I remember going there for years.
Some love.
Yeah, Paul, that was a place to go. That square is to die for. So if you are in Bayonne, check out Corner Square and go see Paul and tell him the Sal Greco Show sent you. So yeah. So Shawn, if you have any, where can people also follow you on social media?
So on Instagram, we're on Instagram. I'm on Twitter at Shawn Kelly 201. On Instagram, it's at Coach Kells with a Z 201. We have Project 201 INC on Instagram, and you could come by the Youth Center, Great Falls Youth Center in Patterson. Sign your kids up all week. It's for high school kids during the week, and then on Saturdays, it's for kids of all ages. So bring your kid down, sign them up. We'll get them going in some sports.
And send them to Corner Square and have some pizza.
Let's get it.
All right, thanks for coming on, Shawn. Let me know about anything that happens or transpires in your future with your case. Because if you get any developments, I'll have you back on. You explain what happened with the disability. Because I don't trust these courts just the way I am. Because I never see everything is dragged on. We never, it's like this should be in almost all right. 6 months. How much longer are we going to drag this on for? Because it goes on for years and years and years, and there's no rush to try to go, okay, let's get rid of all these cases. They just let it linger.
It's a shame. But it's all right. We're going to handle it. And there's a reason. Everything happens for a reason. We're here for the youth. God bless America.
That's right. Well, God bless you, Shawn. I hope everything turns out in your favor, and keep up the good fight with the nonprofit and helping out the kids. And don't forget to have some pizza.
You got it. Thank you, Sal.
Thank you. There you have it. Bayonne, New Jersey. That was a spot I haven't been in a long time, but Bayonne, there's a couple of places I remember that pizzeria wise that were, there was Joe's, there was the original, which is now Corner Square, which is Paul's place. There was another place there as well. That town is not known for pizza, but it's right over the bridge in Staten Island. You go over the Bayonne Bridge and you're there. Takes back a few years, but that story, it's like we hear this over and over again, right? When it comes to working in law enforcement agencies, it's like I don't get it. I mean, here Anthony DiMaggio says, "I'm at 2 years and 5 months, still no resolution. I'm sorry to say, don't hold your breath, Shawn." That's Anthony has his own case. Anthony has his own case, and it's dragging on. Same thing. I could tell you about my own. John McCarr could tell you about his own. There's never any. Let's end this. Like, let's see. Like, you want to get rid of stuff like this because there's bigger things behind it. There's like criminal case. They just don't care. The criminal justice system, the system itself, it's clogged. Okay. Well, with that being said, let's have on the producer, Jack, a producer's take. What's going on, Jack?
Yeah, well, first of all, this is the first time that we're on the air since Charlie Kirk's passing, and rest in peace to him. It's been just an incredible 6 days since he passed, seeing all the support that's come out both on social media and at a vigil that I attended by me in Palm Beach County on Friday night. Really, really incredible to see all of that. And shout out to Shawn as well for being incredibly brave and having the courage to come on our platform and speak. It's not easy, folks, to sit in front of a camera and talk about your story in a manner where everyone can identify you and really criticize everything you say. And Shawn was incredibly courageous in doing so today. It's very sad to see the state of the prison industry in this country and where we've gone with everything. Prison is designed as rehabilitation. And somehow I feel that we've gone in the opposite direction in terms of how we manage not just the inmates, but also the correction officers. And that's a very sad development to see when you're noticing that the life expectancy for most of them, as he touched on, has reduced, especially when they get out of the system.
Yeah. And I know you touched up on, it's just a common theme here is what we try to do here is we try to expose things that are going on because people need to learn about this. So next time you see a corrections person or an NYPD guy or a police, officer in general, know what we're saying and think, wow, that's what these guys are going through. And of course, we have clowns in charge too, but you need to know these things. It's very important because, this guy goes to work and look at what he's dealing with. And then he's got a disability case and they're dragging their feet and everything always is, a scam artist. You could break your arm. Oh, he's a scam artist. But guys like John Shell, they're not scam artists, apparently. They're doing everything right. But everyone else, you're a scam artist. So see, it's like a big club. And it's supposed to be something that's supposed to be even for everyone, and it's clearly not. It's like he was saying, you're part of that clique. You're part of that crew. You're part of this inner circle. You get taken care of. Everyone else, your general population. Kind of like being in a prison. Same thing.
Right, exactly. I think a wise man, actually Eric Sanders, he was the wise man that I'm referring to, said that there are grass eaters and there are meat eaters.
Yeah.
The grass eaters are the one who are forced to do the dirty work, to really get into the weeds and handle the inmates and do everything that the prison system is supposed to be doing. Then you have the meat eaters who are eating their $1,000 steaks every single night, sitting in an office probably miles from the prison system. They don't interact with the inmates at all. They get paid the most amount of money. And people who look at the system start to question not only the integrity of it, because it's totally immoral to be operating that way, but also the structure of it. How do you possibly have that much corruption within the penal system and you're just not doing anything about it? It's totally disgusting in that regard as well.
Yeah, and because people running the city and the state and all that, I mean, you could go down the list. Whether it's New Jersey too. I mean, you got a governor's race coming up there within, I believe, less than 60 days, right? You got Jack Ciattarelli. He's your Republican. I would vote for him in a heartbeat. That's the guy I would vote for. I would, full-heartedly endorse Jack. But again, New Jersey, a lot of low information people there as well. I mean, they voted for Phil Murphy. Who's a disaster.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
people love it. It's like people like to be dominated. I think they just like to be told what to do. They just love that. They liked it during the whole, during the whole pandemic. They like to be told what to do. And then the minute somebody comes in and says, "Hey, wait a minute, we shouldn't be doing this," fry him, kill him, shut him up, silence him. That's what they, that's, I don't know. It's like a psychological thing.
Part of the problem here is that we need a scapegoat for every single sad situation that we're in. So instead of looking internally and blaming ourselves, it becomes that much easier to go and blame someone else, which is ridiculous. But anyway, to pay homage to Charlie Kirk's death and to encourage peaceful, civil, social discourse, because we don't have enough of that in today's society, and we want to encourage it here on the Sal Greco Show, I'd like to talk about one of the most interesting developments in New York City politics right now, where Michael Lasher, who's being referenced in this headline by the New York Times, Jerry Nadler's protege, is running to succeed his mentor. Very, very interesting development here. He's going to be running to replace Nadler in the 12th Congressional District, which, as you guys can see on the screen, covers the Upper East and the Upper West Side. Some of the most expensive real estate in all of New York City, which is what kind of makes the anticipation for this race that much greater. Also so happens to be a very liberal district. But I want to go back to Lasher for a second, because he's kind of a very interesting politician. He came onto the scene in 2016 when he ran against Adriano Espaillat for the 31st district in the New York State Senate, got crushed partially because he was unrepresentative racially speaking of that district, but also because he was 33 years old at the time. And back in the 2010s, there wasn't as much reception, positive reception, that is, for younger politicians. But you fast forward a decade, and he feels like a guy who's going to be benefiting from the movement, the Mamdani momentum, if you want to call it that. I mean, Lasher, once he lost that race, took a little bit of a hiatus from politics, worked in building affordable sidewalks, nonprofits in New York City. Then he burst back onto the scene. 9 months into representing a state assembly district, it already looks like he's trying to jump jobs. That's kind of my one issue with all of these fast risers in the young political spectrum. I'm okay with them having higher ambitions, but this idea of we're going to jump into one job and before we're even done with it, we're going to already start looking for the next. That doesn't really sit right for me. In Mamdani's case, he's going to make the argument, I served 4 years in the state assembly, but in reality, he served about 3 years, right? Because he spent the last 9 months on the campaign trail campaigning for mayor. If you're going to campaign for a job, if you're going to be elected to public office, at least show some level of interest in doing the job that you have before you just decide to job jump, because it's not a good look for any of these people, even if I do have an insane amount of respect for what they're doing and how they're trying to influence the political scene, even if they're straying in a little bit of a different direction than I am, ideologically speaking.
Yeah, I don't know. Mamdani, we'll see. He wasn't around. He wasn't around for those votes for the Senate, not the Assembly. He missed a lot of votes. Listen, he's bamboozled a lot of people, And if you look at the polls and the latest one I saw, again, it's all likely voters. We don't know what the hell that means. And again, it doesn't match what's really going on. Because Mamdani, there's no way Mamdani is at 45%. and Cuomo was at 24%. There's no way. And I'll tell you why. So as far as people that get the donations, Curtis Sliwa leads in the most donations from New York City itself. Now, Mamdani and Cuomo is the king of the Hamptons. Mamdani is the king of the country, all the socialists in the country. Right?
Uganda. Yeah, he owns property, a $300,000 property there.
That's where he's getting all his money with. And on Eric Adams' part, which I saw today in the city, showed you the donors that he has. They're all real estate guys. And the real estate guys are backing up Cuomo. And you have all this bickering. I heard Eric Adams is going to drop out this week. Eric Adams is, listen, that guy will never, he will go down with the ship before he admits anything. That would mean that he admits failure. He won't. He'd rather you haul him away to jail, which he'll cry to all his donors to get him out anyway, because he did that last time. So that's how this ends. He's going to go down with the ship, Eric Adams. But they're just trying to influence this race with these Fugazi polls. Because when I read the unfavorabilities, which is the only thing that matters, being unfavorable with a voter it's bad. When you look at even the presidential election, the unfavorables were almost even between Trump and Kamala Harris, which is then you saw what happened. In this instance, this poll shows that Eric Adams has a 70% unfavorability, which is the highest probably ever for a New York City mayoral incumbent or any mayoral candidate. 70% he is unfavorable. Second is Andrew Cuomo at 64%. Third is Mamdani at 34%. And last is Curtis Sliwa at 28%, which makes Curtis the most likable guy to elect. Now, how does that not translate into these polls? Well, they're all skewed. They're skewed in different manners. And I'm telling you, this is going to be a lot closer than they're telling you because they want to build a monster. Mamdani's unstoppable. He's anything but that. The guy is a buffoon when it comes to public. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just reciting those activists. He's an activist. He's activist talking points. So that's what you're going to see with Mamdani if he were to be elected mayor. And I just don't see him at 45%. I still see this in the 30s between all three of these guys. Eric, of course, he's done. He is finished. He won't. Whether he stays, he goes, it really doesn't matter. He doesn't drag anyone around with him. But the other three is a lot closer than they're telling you. And the unfavorabilities and the donations show that. So I don't know who they're polling unless they're calling like Owen Schroyer in Texas and reporting him as a New York City voter, because that's what I think. This whole thing's a scam. All these stupid polls, CBS years ago said that Hillary Clinton was going to win by 30 points. Just a few months ago, Andrew Cuomo was unstoppable. So take it with a grain of salt and just look at the facts, because unfavorabilities and donations, that's how you're going to get people elected into office, especially locally, is a little different. So I just don't see what they're saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's also funny that CBS is all of a sudden meddling in a local election, and one of their top anchors, Mary Calvi, is married to Mike Spano, who was first a Democrat, now he's a Republican. He's going to be an independent next week. He's going to be part of the Green Party the week after that. So, yeah, I mean, you definitely have some political bias here as well. But the weirdest part of this poll, I think it's good that they're doing polls without Eric Adams, because even though his support base may effectively be inconsequential because it's so low right now, there is still an outside possibility that he does drop out of the race or that he does lose even more support because the rumors continue to circulate. But this is really weird. Take a look at this, everyone. So Sliwa in the four-way poll has 17%. But when you take Adams out of the picture, he only gains 1%, and Mamdani only gains 1%. Yeah, Cuomo gains 6%.
It's a fake.
Yeah,
it's a fake.
So we're just operating with this overlying belief that Cuomo is going to absorb all of Adams's support, when in reality, Sliwa would probably be first in line, given that he probably has a lot of Adams constituents. It's totally ridiculous. Give me a break on that. Also, give me a break on Mamdani getting 45%. He's not getting 45%. I see him getting maybe 40, 42% in a best case scenario. But Cuomo and Slee will have enough support so that he's not going to just run away and get half of the electorate. Also, half the electorate in New York City is not voting for Zohran Mamdani. He's not that popular. Come on.
The one-on-one is BS too, because one-on-one, when they had the ranked choice voting, which had a record number, there were more people voting in that Democrat primary than the actual general election for 4 years ago. One-on-one, when they got to the end, Mamdani destroyed Cuomo. Nothing has changed. Cuomo hasn't said anything. He hasn't done anything that's going to save New York City, other than he's now cozying up to Trump and all these other real estate guys. That's all I'm saying. It's a bamboo. They're bamboozling you. And if New York City is low on information, they're going to continue going low information route, and you're going to continue down listening to this stuff, then it's going to be on you when you elect Mamdani, or you don't show up to vote because, he can't win. No one can win. This is so tight, and people are just unaware of this stuff. There is no way that this is going the way it is. None. It's just not. The numbers don't add up. CBS, all these people, they're bought and paid. Cuomo has a lot of money to throw around, so I'm sure he's throwing it around with the pulse. And it's very frustrating to see that when I see a ton of support for Curtis Lee, who is the right Republican. You know why? When Donald Trump comes out as a president and says he's a lightweight and we don't need cats in City Hall. What do we need, Mr. President? More corruption? Because that's what we're going to get with Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo. Because these are your guys that you could control and say, I want my name back on the woman rink. I want that casino pass in the Bronx. You and your friends, your real estate buddies. Don't forget he is a real estate guy. See, at least here with this show and with me, you're getting honesty. I'm not a guy throwing up flags, screaming MAGA 24/7. If I see something I don't like, I'm going to say it because it's real dumb to stay quiet. I don't know what his intention. I don't know why he wants to even get involved in this race. He doesn't live in New York City other than his organization. Stay out of this. The Republicans, I already saw it in I believe in the Bronx. He had 24 or 28% of the vote. He had the same in Brooklyn. In Queens, he got 36%. In Manhattan, he had 18%. And in Staten Island, 64%. That's a presidential election. His endorsement means nothing. New York City, essentially the 5 boroughs, despise Donald Trump. So stay away. Your opinion it's not relevant in every freaking matter in the United States. Worry about what just happened last week. Worry about inflation. Worry about that stuff. Don't worry about the New York City mayor's office. I'm going to take away their funds. I mean, wasn't Joe Biden doing this? I mean, really?
Well, he's very worried because there's concern that the Trump organization is going to lose money if he doesn't have a mayor in office that's going to be passing favorable policies. And he views Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo as the only 2 people on planet Earth that can possibly do so, deciding to instead make value judgments, surface level ones at that, talking about cats and his beret and I think he talked about the red jacket he was wearing at one point and how he thought it was ugly. So
and he did it on the couch. Did he do that with Brian Kilmeade, who wants to euthanize homeless people? That's a great. That's what I'm saying. You're talking to low information people like that on top of Brian Kilmeade. Let's euthanize homeless people.
Yeah, no, it's sad that we've arrived, and we're going to be talking about this more on an X Space that we'll be hosting. John Macari is going to be hosting it at 5:00, so be sure to tune into that for everyone who's watching our show or listening live right now as well. But this is the type of dangerous rhetoric, Sal, that got us to this point in the first place. When we talk about things and depict people as these horrible villains, the way that the New York Post did with Kathy Hochul calling her a communist after she endorsed Zohran Mamdani, these are the types of dangerous exaggerations that lead to political violence. When you frame someone as being a villain and someone that they're not, that inspires people to go out and attack them. That inspires people to look at homeless people in one way or another. So be aware of the fact, too, that Brian Kilmeade is going home to his mansion in Massapequa, and he would not even let you into his house to clean his toilet if you got down on one knee and begged him to. Most of you out there watching. So
he wrote all these books that nobody cares about either.
Yeah, and he's using those books to make a lot of money too, even though no one's reading him. That's like become his new grifting tool.
And he stays on Fox News, yet he sounds insane, and he goes on Sid Rosenberg's show and he hosts the WABC show. WABC.
That really goes for all of the people that Fox is not only paying $1 million salaries to, but is flying in from out of town, paying their airfare, putting them up in fancy hotels right across the street, just so they can spew hateful rhetoric that has no factual basic. Listen, we don't like Zoran Mamdani. We both want Curtis Sliwa to win the mayoral election, but we're not here saying these crazy things to try and get some type of reaction out of people, because that's very dangerous for the future of our country. And I hope that people would be very careful about what comes out of their mouth in light of what happened recently, because Charlie Kirk, he was a free speech absolutist, and he would not want any of this happening.
Yeah, Fox says it best here. Trump has to voice a distance from Sliwa publicly because those with the Trump syndrome will go crazy. Yes and no. I just think if he stayed out of it and stayed the way he was neutral, it would have been better than now. Any MAGA guy, any MAGA or whatever little small amount of MAGA there is in New York City now heard Trump. And listen, if this guy, I hate to say it, but there's some people that say if jump off a bridge, they might do it if he says it. So some of those people will now not vote for Curtis Sliwa because he said, oh, he's a lightweight. Everyone's a lightweight to this guy. But, you know, it's like, just stay out of it. You're not getting the woman rink back. It's over. Just move on. Think about that down the road. Just stop thinking. That's what if you know the man, you know the man. Like, you got to know the way the inner brain works to the guy. That was wrong. But, and then Curtis was right. He doesn't seek his endorsement either because it would destroy you. So, but
yeah, he would lose support if he
Trump should just say, I endorse Zoran Mamdani, and then you're going to have, and then, all chaos would break loose.
He basically already did that when he said Mamdani is my little communist.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he was half joking with that comment, but it sounded like an endorsement. Like, I'm bracing for impact. I know that I'm going to have to work with him somehow. Let's just see how this goes.
Look at it. Joe Williams says, I thought I was the only one that thinks Kilmeade is a nut and exaggerates everything. He's beyond that. He wants to euthanize mentally disturbed homeless people. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
And it's not just Kilmeade. It's Ainsley Earhart, who spends more time by me in Florida than in New York. So I don't know what she's talking about with the mayoral election. It's Brian Jones, who lives in Texas and probably never even set foot in Midtown Manhattan prior to getting a job at Fox. So, yeah, all of these people that you see on the mainstream media who you galvanize and look up to and say, oh, they're the best.
Yeah.
Just know that they don't care about you at the end of the day, and they're going to say whatever they possibly can to get clicks and everyone on social media to go wild. They could care less about you and your life and what's going on. So just be aware of that.
Don't worry. In 24 hours or so, Sid Rosenberg will have him on in the morning. Brian, kill me. Everyone wants to hear this guy. Jeez. Jack, so what's on tap for tonight with the 10-Foot Tavern?
Yeah, 10-4 Tavern will be having on Peter Mangin with the guy's second generation law enforcement professional. Should be a very good one, live at 7:05 Eastern time. And then today we'll be having a special X Space a couple hours after this. So go home, have some lunch, go for a run, go work out, do whatever you have to do, and then tune into our free speech X Space where we be continuing this conversation. And then in the meantime, I also just saw that David Stearns, general manager of the Mets, is going to be holding a press conference at 4 p.m. So I can't remember a GM in Major League Baseball holding a press conference in September before the season is over. I know that the Mets snapped an 8-game losing skid. Pete Alonso bailed them out in the bottom of the 10th inning, hitting a 3-run Ampo Taco against the Rangers on Sunday. To get them back in command of the wild card, third and final spot. They're now a game and a half ahead of the Giants and Diamondbacks. But still, it's kind of weird to see the Mets holding a press conference with 12 games remaining in the regular season. What do you make about that?
I don't know. The Mets are a disgrace. They lost so many games, and I don't know what happened. They were the number one team in June. They are the worst team since June. They are actually the worst record. Listen, you can't have people starting 5 innings a game expect to win. What happened to the Doc Goodens? I miss the pitchers that threw 9 innings. If you got to, listen, stop with all this technological, all this nonsense. Throw 2 pitches. If you give up 15 runs, so be it. That's how they did it in the 1800s. You know why people pitched 9 innings a game or more? Fastball, changeup. That's all they had. The curveball is what gives you Tommy John surgery and all these other stuff. So just stick to that. Oh, the guy hits at 75 home runs. Well, then that's the price you pay. Then you have an offensive league. But is it better to have that and not have guys pitching 5 innings or having multiple Tommy John surgeries every year, or just have the guy pitch 2 pitches and pitch 9 innings? Because their bullpen was taxed. They made the worst deals at the All-Star break. You know, the Phillies, like Bader, the Mets could have had that guy. Bader's the hottest player in the majors since the trade deadline.
Westchester native too.
They deserve it. They deserve. The Mets deserve where they're going to be, and that's that. And I could tell you, I was at Lone Depot Park. I don't know if you could put up that picture on Sunday. There it is. I was at Lone Depot Park. I was in the bullpen section, which I highly recommend you guys try. You see there, I'm sipping on a nice cappuccino. There was a home run hit in the 11th inning, and the game was won. So the Marlins beat the Tigers. They beat them 2 out of 3. Tigers are a good team. What a game. What an environment. You could have food there, too. I tried out the sliders, that hamburger sliders there. It's good to do this to get away from, like, what happened last week. You need this. Your brain needs a breather. That's why Highlight is back now. And guess what? The Highlight Chargers won the other day. They're playing today at 5 p.m., in fact. So highlightworld.com, ESPN3 at 5 p.m. Check out the Chargers. They'll be playing today. So Highlight season is back as well. And this is what's needed to break away from what happened in just the last couple of days. You don't want to forget it, but you also need a breather. And that's what sports was supposed to be. Unfortunately, some things went woke, and they shouldn't, you know. But so Lone Depot Park, still one of my favorite places to visit, and it's going to be, if you go to that stadium, I would try out the bullpen at least one time. Let's see. Lone Silence has told you the best bets were to take the number at nearly 4-1 each on the Mets and Yankees not making the playoffs. I expect to win one of those 2 bets. I think so. I think the Mets won't make it. I think they're going to choke. Something's clearly wrong with that team. $350 million payroll. Juan Soto, who I love Juan Soto, but he makes more than the entire Marlins team. Yet the Mets can't carry him. They can't even help the guy, you know. So there was that. Also tomorrow at 8:05 live, check out Finest Unfiltered with John and Eric. And, of course, the Executive Perspective with Rob Lukesh and Ron Layson. That'll be on at 5:05 or 17:05 Eastern right here to Finest Unfiltered Network. On Thursday, I will have on Marlon Bethel. Thursday, we will be discussing the Frankie Palaguacci case. That's the case that Eric Sanders on the last show dove into a little bit about how he was in the trial room, everything to do with the hair, the drug screening, and Marlon has a way of connecting all the dots here. So on Thursday, we'll be doing that for you all. Call it a little expose. And so get ready for that one on Thursday. I think that'll be all here from a rainy South Florida for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit that like, share, subscribe button. If you want to see a video I did for being at Lone Depot Park, you go to my TikTok, The Sal Greco Show. Follow me on there. Also, the Sal Greco Show segments on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, The Sal Greco and The Sal Greco Show. So you can catch up on all these little things that I do, all these little nuances that I have, like the baseball and highlight. And it's always a good time. So check that out. And I think that'll be it for today. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone in the comments. Special Hagen, Lone Silencer, Hood Mayor, NYC, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope everybody has a good day. I'll see you all on Thursday. And I'm signing off here from a rainy South Florida, which is a sunny place for shady people.
So this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid?